Okay, and we are back.
Where did we go?
We are back with another adult toy, well, adult,
Nostalgia, I guess.
yeah, themed conversation. Because this one is not about toys; it's about um, TV programs and movies.
Kind of a series, because this is like our third straight up television discussion, I think.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
But the question that I thought of earlier this week while I was watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
um, in your opinion, has TV programming and movies, are they better or worse since, I'll say, 2000? I guess is a good round
Round
number.
number.
From the beginning of TV and movies to 2000,
Uh-huh.
from 2000 to now, has TV programming,
Since the Y2K bug.
okay,
You
has
remember
TV,
Y2K?
yeah, I remember that, and everybody thought all computers were going to shut down and fail, and it was going to
Uh-huh.
be this big global meltdown,
Yeah, sure.
and nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Um, has TV programming and movies changed for the better or worse? What is your thought and
They've gotten
opinion?
worse. Thanks for watching. No, and of course that's an open-ended question. It's not. She's not just asking me
Yeah.
here. She's asking everybody who's watching at home who might be looking at this video. What do you think about that? And for me personally, and that's the old fuddy-duddy answer anyways,
Mm-hmm.
is that you always think that what you had was better.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason for that is as you get older and as you watch the changes, what you notice is what you had versus what you've got now is, even though things may be easier, like technology makes things easier as an example, you actually end up with less. You had, well, you get more regulations, more restrictions, more taxes. It just keeps piling up. The red tape gets thicker and thicker. You notice this gradually happening as you get older, and you look back and you're like, wow, it was so much simpler. And I've brought that up about
Mm-hmm.
childhood as something that we could talk about some other time. But, when you're a child, you spend your entire childhood sitting there thinking to yourself, damn, I can't wait till I'm grown up and people can't tell me what to do. I can go where I want. I'm going to do this and that. And then you grow up and you're like, you come to this realization that it's worse, that it's harder, that more people are telling you what to do, more people are taking from you, you can't do anything you want, and you spend your entire childhood wishing you were a kid again when it was a lot simpler. And so, yeah, naturally you're going to think what you had before was better. But on that same token, being a connoisseur of vintage television and vintage movies, both of us,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about what we do before with our television viewing. We don't binge watch, and we talked about why we don't binge watch and how we have a schedule of different shows from different eras, and we watch an episode or two on a certain day of a certain show the way it was done in the old days. And part of the reason that we do that is because, in our opinion, the older shows are better. They're better written,
Mm-hmm.
they're more fun to watch, they make more sense, they tie together better because they were written to fit a specific schedule. And nowadays the seasons are shorter. They put them out with the intention of people binging them, and again, the argument with the binging is if you binge you miss a lot because you just kind of you get that road hypnotism. They call it road hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving for long hours, and then suddenly that white line, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a dream. And that can happen to you when you binge watch too. You sit there for 10 hours and you're like, wait, what happened? I missed something. It was presented differently back then. they had better shows because they had no choice but to have a better show, even if it was a show that was completely goofy like Three's Company. Three's
Yeah.
Company's brainless, but it's fun to watch.
Mhm.
There was only three networks. Okay, before cable television, before all this mess started, three major networks: PBS, yeah, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Then you had PBS, Public Broadcasting, which basically just showed you reruns of British shows in the evening. And you might have had anywhere from 1 to 3 UHF stations you could pick up on from wherever you were. For those of you who are too young to understand what that is, UHF stations were a local TV network, an independent one that had a limited broadcasting area, and they would basically show reruns of shows that were no longer prime time, or no longer, Good Times wasn't on the air anymore. But if you turned to your local UHF station, they showed reruns of it back to back indefinitely with a bunch of other shows that were no longer on the air. And that's how you found them. So you only had a handful. You had three major networks to pitch to with a new show, period: ABC, NBC, and CBS. You had to be good, or else they couldn't be bothered with you because they were able to cherry pick whatever they wanted. Nowadays, when you got 500 channels and they're on all the time, because remember back then the networks, they shut down at some point. At some point in the evening, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whenever, depending upon the network, you got the chromacast signal, which was those colored lines,
Mhm.
multicolored lines, and then boo, static for the next few hours until the station identification came up at like 5 in the morning or something.
Mhm.
To just restart the broadcast day. It was a reset. Gave the system a break. So now everything's on 24/7. There's 500 plus stations. They'll take anything they can get.
Mhm.
Anything. Literally. And if a show is good, they beat it to death. Like Walking Dead, where it should have ended. But they're like, no, no, people are watching it, so let's drag it out. Now it comes on and they're like, oh, another season of Walking Dead? People are tired of it because they stretched it out for too long.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So even a show that is good, they kill it with an abrupt ending that everybody's pissed off about, like Game of Thrones made
Mhm.
everybody mad, Lost made everybody mad, or they stretch it out until the show just kind of dies, which is what's happening in Walking Dead now. I think most people can't even stomach it anymore. I don't know. Some people might still really be into it. But we couldn't watch it anymore, and we liked the show.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I think the vintage shows are a lot better. Plus, a lot of the modern shows, um, they copy the older shows, and if you're not familiar with them, if you don't know that plot's been done before on such and such a show because you saw it in the 70s and the 80s, you'll never know the difference. You don't know they're copying the same material and doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. And my thought is kind of on the same line with the TV shows. Older shows, it seems like they wrote it better.
Mm-hmm.
It actually had a plot. Even comedy shows had a plot.
Yeah.
And the acting was better. It just all tied up. Now seem like almost every show that come on TV is a reality show. And then reality shows are scripted.
Yeah, they're
and
fake,
and then the
guys.
shows that are written, there is no plot. Like I was at my parents' house and they were watching Big Bang Theories, and that was the most painful show to watch. I was like, oh my god,
The
how?
laugh track did not help.
No, it was just horrible. The whole plot, because I saw the whole episode and I'm sitting there like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I'm not a big fan of comedy
Yeah.
shows. sitcoms. I'm not a fan of sitcoms, but some of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit through some, but not a lot. But that one was just, it was awful. And like you
Painful.
said, they, a lot of the plots are from older shows. Like you'll see a lot of Twilight Zone, a lot of Alfred Hitchcock or other shows. And it's like the writers no longer have any creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
Or they reboot the show. Like it's already been done. Like what Knight Rider? They rebooted Knight Rider and Baywatch.
Yeah,
and
you can't just bring a show back.
yeah, they reboot MacGyver, and it's like
And made him a teenager. Oh, we'll make him a teenager. It's so progressive. Right down the crapper.
yeah. And another issue I got with modern TV, everything is a political, social agenda.
Yeah.
And older shows, you didn't see that. It was no political agenda. It was no social. You know, maybe they'll touch on something every
Usually
so
it was
often.
an ethical issue.
Yeah.
Like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. They made it an ethical point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right versus wrong. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you know, it's not a good idea to talk to strangers. It's not a good idea to steal from somebody. That kind of thing. Ethical decisions. Modern shows, political and social agendas heavy, very heavy-handed.
Yeah, and I'm talking more about like live action shows.
Yes.
But
And you see it in a lot in modern cartoons, though.
yeah,
As
I
well.
have yeah.
It's a huge issue.
Yeah. So those types of things turn me off. And then the movies. You see movies that are older.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't like movies that came out in the 40s. Because then, you know, from the time movies came out to talking up to about the 50s,
Yeah.
they played that disgusting background music the whole time. I didn't like that.
Yeah, also, you got to keep in mind that stuff up to about the mid-50s was very heavily censored.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the plots were heavily censored.
Mm-hmm.
So certain ideas were suppressed.
Yeah. But they had a better flow.
Mm-hmm.
The concepts were better. It was better written, better dialogue. Nowadays, you watch movies and you're like, how in the world did that get an award? You know, they just hand out awards now.
It's political now.
So,
It's very political now with all of the awards. And, you know, it was once upon a time when you won an Oscar, it was because you actually put on a good performance.
mm-hmm.
Not anymore. And I think most people understand that. It's become very political. That's why nobody watches this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You get fed up with it. You get tired of people telling you how to feel about things, what you should believe, what you should think, instead of letting you figure it out for yourself. It's something that you see a lot of. There's a lot of agendas in modern television.
Mm-hmm. And that has turned us off. Now, it is a few shows, modern shows,
Couple.
that we watch. But it's a handful. You probably can count it on one hand. And it's rare. And I do try on some modern shows. I do try it. And sometimes I can get past an episode before it just goes way left.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just so stupid that the acting, and it's like, okay, you're being unnecessary.
Yeah, the
and
acting is actually, I think, pretty bad by comparison. I think you used to have to really pour your guts out to be an actor back in the day, and you used to have a lot of talent and be able to do multiple things.
yeah,
Because you remember, especially when you're talking about like 40s and 50s and 60s, a lot of those actors, they came out of vaudeville. You know, everybody could sing and dance and do comedy and play
an
instruments and do music, and they could do drama and all this other stuff because that's how they survived. Nowadays, you just have to have the right look.
yeah. It's all about, okay, you're good looking, period. Okay, we'll give you a show. You don't have to know anything. I don't even think you need to go to acting school anymore. You just have to look good and be, you know,
Or
comfortable.
fit a certain mold.
Yeah, be comfortable in front of the camera.
And I've never seen the show, but somebody made a comment about that. I was reading an article. It was the Mindy Project
Uh-huh.
with that Indian
Mm-hmm.
woman. She's like a native Punjab,
Mm-hmm.
and I never saw the show,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember reading the thing, and he says that the Mindy product project is a proper term for the title. It's a proper title for the show because it literally was a product, or literally
Project.
was a project. I keep saying product, but yeah, it is a product. But literally was a project because they took somebody with no talent and no presence and invented a show that is a really lackluster production and forced it to work.
Mm.
And I'm like, again, I've never seen it, but I can see that. That makes that description, it makes sense to me
Mm-hmm.
because you see a lot of shows like that. They just force it to work. Oh, here's your next big show. You're going to like it because we say so. And God help us all, most people like it because they're told to. So,
And I like game shows, and even game shows have gotten really bad. I mean,
mm-hmm.
before game shows were funny, some of them were funny, or at least, you're supposed to come on there. It's a quiz show. They ask questions. They ask,
Yeah,
the quiz
you
questions,
had to
and you
have a
went
lot of
on.
personality.
Yeah, now I watched because I like Supermarket Sweep, and it came out in the 90s or late 80s,
Late
early
80s and the
90s.
90s, yeah, Supermarket
And
Sweep.
that's
It's goofy.
David
It's a
hate
goofy show.
David hates the
It's
show,
just
but
I like picking on the host because
yeah, the host
the
is
host is goofy.
obnoxious.
He
Yeah.
is goofy.
But I watched the new one, and I'm like,
What is this?
yeah, they don't even, the questions have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And then the whole build up, I'm like, wow.
You know what I think is a really good example is The Price is Right. Remember
Hmm.
Bob Barker on The Price
Yeah.
is Right? Oh, was it Bob Barker?
Bob Barker did The Price is
Price is
Right
Right.
for a million
That
years.
show was fun, and it was funny, and he's funny, and he's got a great personality. Watch the new one. It's loud. It's obnoxious. It doesn't have the same feel at all.
Hmm.
It's like it's the same basic concept, but it doesn't feel right after having watched the original Let's Make a. Oh no, I'm
You
thinking Let's
talking
Make a
about Let's
Deal.
Make a
Yeah, I'm
Deal.
sorry. I said The Price is Right. I mean Let's Make a Deal. That's
Yeah,
not Bob
that was
Barker.
Monty Hall.
Monty Hall. I got them mixed up.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Let's Make a Deal. That show is fun. That
Yeah.
show is really fun, and it's funny to watch the vintage episodes, and really interesting to see the original Let's Make a Deal from like what, the 50s.
I don't know.
You don't remember the? Isn't that the Let's Make a Deal, or is
No,
it The Price is
now you're
Right?
talking about The
Now I'm
Price is
talking about
Right.
The Price is Right. I'm still mixing them up.
Yeah,
See, she watches a lot of vintage game shows. It
I
gets me
do. I
befuddled.
love game shows.
But it's not the same. Now everything's got to have it's got to have overbearing incidental music,
Yeah,
and it's got to be loud,
and a
and
lot of lights.
the host has to be snarky and make sarcastic comments, and it's
Yeah,
like this isn't
political
this is
comments. You
annoying.
better get out there and vote.
Yeah, I know. Bob Barker, the most political comment he ever made was, "Please get your cat or dog spayed or neutered."
Yeah, he said that on every show. He was
Yeah.
a big advocate for the SPCA.
Yeah.
But again, I thought about that because I'm just, you get so tired of watching TV, and I believe TV is unsafe if you have kids, because it was a time where if you were, you're a parent and you're cleaning up, cooking dinner or whatever, and you sat your kid down and say, okay, watch TV while I get dinner cooking. You didn't really have to worry about what your child was going to see.
Yeah.
Even if you put on a cartoon. But now, even if you put on a cartoon, it's dangerous.
Yeah, you don't know what
Because
they're
you
watching.
don't know if that's an adult cartoon or if that's a child cartoon.
Or if it's a child cartoon with a big social agenda in it.
Yeah, like from what I understand, everything on Disney. So, it's just unsafe. And those things totally turned me off to TV. Again, I still try to watch some things, and I'll give it a chance. Some shows I give it a chance. I look at the title or I read up the little synopsis or who's in it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It's just I didn't want to lose my train of thought. For people who aren't old enough to understand what she means by that, literally, it didn't matter what was on. You talk, 70s, 80s, even part of the 90s, before everything was cable. If you turned on, you could have any show. You could be, like she said, cooking dinner, and it's 8 o'clock, and the kid just turns to whatever. You did not have to worry about foul language. You did not have to worry about graphic sex scenes. You didn't have to worry about political or social agendas at all because it wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
You didn't see it. And that's also, those are our biggest turnoffs. When we're watching a modern show, she won't get 10 minutes into it and the TV's going off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if it's nonstop foul language, if there's graphic sex, we're not interested in that. If there's a obvious big social or political push on the show, it's like, really, I can think for myself. Thank you.
Now, if it's a show, and I'm trying to think, like you have some shows that are political. They're about the government. They're about a president. Now that's one thing.
Yes.
But if I'm watching, I don't know, Magnum P.I., I don't want to hear anything social. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. But now if I sit down and purposely watch a show that I know
something's going to come up.
It's going to come up, now my mind is prepared for that. Okay, I'm ready to hear what you have to say. But if you just want to shut the world down and you say, okay, I'm going to just unwind for a minute and I'm going to watch some TV. Okay, I don't want to hear about the president. I don't want to hear about what's going on in this state or that state or anything like that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Because if I do, I'll turn on to that, turn something on that's talking about that. But I don't want to see that in cartoons or in game shows or nothing like that. I want to watch the show. Or if I'm watching a sports show, like we used to watch Ninja Warrior or the World Strongman. I don't want to hear their social or political agenda.
Yeah, and American Ninja Warrior and The Voice.
Oh yeah, The Voice. Used to watch. Yeah.
It kept, as the seasons wore on, continue, because she did used to watch that pretty religiously. As the seasons wore on, got more and more social, more and more political, and more fluff, more and more padded content. You're watching The Voice, you want to hear them sing.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear their life story.
No.
You're watching and we talked about that before, the American Ninja Warrior. I want to see the athletes. They skip over so many people.
Yeah.
They bypass a lot of people. You have people even finish the course and they don't show you. Because that person doesn't have an interesting backstory that they can exploit.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, some of the backstories are encouraging. I will give you that.
Sure.
But all I need to hear it is one time. Not every week.
Not every episode, every time they bring that person out.
Yeah, if you brought the person out the first time this season, okay, the first time, this is the first episode of the season. Okay, now we got your backstory. Yeah. We don't need to hear it every week. You adding to it every week. Now the whole backstory is 10 minutes long.
And I'll tell you also, I got really sick of their hand-picked champions.
Oh, yeah.
This is something a lot of people may not understand about that show. There are people waiting in the line, okay? Because some people are out there almost 2 months waiting, who are far better athletes than the one on the show, and they will be overlooked. And they'll have their hand-picked people. Oh, this is so-and-so. And it's a favorite for the show because it fits their agenda. And they suck. They're not good athletes.
They don't finish the course.
They can't finish the course. Some of them, there's a couple of them, have never finished.
They never got to that wall.
Have never finished the first wall even.
Yeah.
But they'll overlook really good athletes, male and female, to to use their core hand-picked champions.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. That defeats the purpose of the show.
Yeah, and then it kind of pisses on the other athletes who work really hard
Yeah.
and did way better. But it seemed to them, oh yeah, you did really good. You work really hard.
Next.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just go ahead on. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Try again next month or next year, as the
Yeah.
case may be.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's disrespectful to the whole concept.
Yeah, but back to the TV shows. So you believe that TV shows, when do you think it was a change in programming?
The bigger cable got, the worse it got. Again, like I was saying, you had, remember, this is where all of the, actually a really good example. This is where the invention of what is that? The what do they call that network where they sell you stuff?
QVC?
Yeah, like QVC, for example. Having the infomercials. Infomercials is what they used to call them, where it was 2 hours and they're selling a product or something like that. Because as the cable stations were starting to grow in the late 80s or early 90s, they could not fill the slots. There were not enough TV shows out there, even in reruns, to fill the slots. So they started selling out to these companies that would buy up big airtime slots to sell products. And so it became, this is it. It got to the point where entire channels were just selling you things. We would just sit there and talk about the Ginsu knives and these fantastic new samurai swords that you can put on display in your home, or this new cordless telephone or something like that. They would sell anything to you, but they would talk about it for hours. That black spray can that you spray on your hair.
Yeah, to fill it in.
Yeah, but it would be like a 4-hour infomercial.
They
could not fill. Yeah, there was a few, but they could not fill the time slots. They couldn't do it. This is also where the concept of the reality show was born.
Yeah.
We need to fill the time slots. How do we
MTV, I
do
think,
it?
was the first one with Big
Yeah.
Brother. Was it Big Brother?
I
No,
don't
it was the
remember.
one where all the people lived in the house. I can't remember the name, but they were the first ones.
The Real World or
Yeah,
something?
the Real World.
Yeah.
That was it.
And folks, don't ever for a minute think any of these reality shows are real. They are scripted, but it's an open script. Basically, it's kind of like how they do in wrestling, where they say you're going to win and you're going to lose. In reality television, it's like you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and then they just kind of improvise as they go. You know, make up a few lines or whatever. It's not like they have to memorize a whole script, but it is fake, and that came out of that also. And I think that's been very detrimental to society, honestly.
Yeah,
it
because
gives this false concept of what real life actually looks like.
Yeah, but you have to think about it. Nobody's life is that interesting in a week. Last week we did all this stuff. All of this stuff happened. Yeah, nothing. Nobody's life is that interesting.
People watch that and believe it, though.
Yeah.
And then they sit there and they think, why does my life suck so bad? Why is my life so boring? Why don't I have all this adventure going on, or all of this? Why aren't I making all this money and things like that? And it's hard on people, and people take that real serious. I promise you, those shows are fake. And I can verify that a little bit, because remember, I was in the running to be on American Grit.
Yeah, he signed up and they told him no.
They told me no because I was too real for the show. Basically, is what it came down to. Even though they had made this big thing about how, we're not going to use, we're going to get away from using, for the season 2. It was for season 2. Yeah, we're trying to get away from using like professionals. But everybody on that show is an actor, an athlete, or as somebody else.
But the first season, they didn't have any. I think everybody were just normal, everyday people,
They
I
were all
believe.
professional
Oh, they
actors.
were?
Yeah, if you go look up their profiles, you can find them all. Small time stuff, commercial actors and things like
Yeah.
that. But the the show's totally fake. I was in the running for season 2, and like I said, basically, I'm not big on playing ball with that kind of thing. If it was really and they changed it drastically from season 1 anyway. They
Yeah,
made it pretty trashy, and they made it.
they did.
There was a lot of foul language. They increased the foul language. They used. It was more like Fear Factor than it was.
But they didn't even show them doing the activities.
Because they had people like the challenge was to be naked and stupid things like that instead of running obstacle courses. Because
Yeah.
if it was all, if you're going to be able to actually run obstacle courses, I was all about doing that because I like that stuff. But, from what they were telling me, I was like, oh my God, you just want me to be a complete tool and a complete
Basically.
phony. And I was not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But
But people see reality shows. And
they
even,
believe it.
I know, because I love myself some house hunters. And
And even those are fake.
even those are fake.
Yeah.
Because I looked up a house, because I saw it. And I was like, I know that area. I know that area well. And houses in that area don't cost that much. So I looked it up.
Yeah.
And I found the house that they said sold for like, I don't know.
Something crazy.
Yeah, like $700,000. And I knew the area, and I know like even the nicest houses in that area won't go for like $150,000.
Yeah. They
And
exaggerate all of that.
And the house had sold for like 160, and they said it was like 400,000. It was something ridiculous. It was way up there,
Yeah.
So, you watch the TV and you watch your programming, and you're sitting there like, is this all you could come up with? You couldn't think of nothing else?
Nope. But yeah, all those reality shows and all the politics and all the social stuff, and the advertising has gotten bad too.
You big on that advertising.
I hate it. You know what I'm gonna say? I said it on the last time we talked about TV. I'm old enough to remember the promise of cable television, which when it first started rolling out in the very late 70s, early 80s, you will never see a commercial because you're paying for it. That was their slogan. Same thing you saw with satellite radio.
Yeah.
Oh, you're paying for satellite radio, so you're not going to get any commercial advertising. It's in there now.
You get is
And
commercial
cable
advertising.
too. And you're looking at more advertising than we ever did on these shows. The commercial blocks are bigger and bigger and bigger, and the commercials are awful too.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Even the commercials have gotten worse, because at least it seems like before, when they sold something, you knew what the product was,
Yeah.
what the product does, and probably where you can find it. Now you have a commercial and you're sitting there like, what are you selling me? What is that commercial for? What does that product do? What, where do you find that?
And then you say to yourself, well, I don't really care, and I'm not going to bother to look it up.
Yeah, because
Who cares?
and before, even commercials were memorable. Now commercials aren't memorable because
Yeah.
you don't even know what they're trying to sell you.
No, you know what I think is really funny is all the drug company commercials, and a lot of them will show people and talk about people, or show so and so this and that, and then they'll start running you off a list of side effects, and then you get to the end of the commercial and you realize, wait, did they even really tell you what the pill was for?
Yeah.
They didn't really tell you what the pill was for. They just told you some really frightening sounding side effects, by the way. I don't know how people take all these pills. That is scary stuff. But really, what happened?
Yeah, what
it just
happened
keeps getting
to
worse.
TV programming, and what happened to movies? Because even movies are brainless. It has no point, no plot. And you're sitting there like, what is the purpose of this movie? What are you trying to tell me? Now, some movies, are were it was like it seemed like it was purposely made to be stupid. You
Yes.
know, you have those types of movies, Weekend at Bernie's, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like
You know what
that.
you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, but nowadays it seems like they make a movie and they trying to make it a good movie. They trying to be like a contender. But when you watch it, you're sitting there like, what in the world is this about? Why are they doing this? What are they trying to get me to know?
Or if they're trying to prove something in the film. I think that's what screws it up a lot too. And Ghostbusters is a great example of that because they
Yeah.
screwed that up
Mm-hmm.
really badly. You're taking a couple of films, they're classic and they're fun films. They weren't that great to begin with. I know
Yeah.
somebody's going to get upset at me, but it's the truth. The plot, a lot of big holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a fantastic film, but it's fun.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
fun
also safe.
and it's nostalgic
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny. The animated series was probably better
Yeah.
than the movies actually,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I still like the Ghostbusters. I'm just saying it's not a stellar film. Then they're gonna bring it back. Bill Murray screwed that up because Bill Murray kept he was in, he was out, he was in, he was out, and you know Dan Aykroyd is like, oh for Christ's sakes, what am I supposed to do? And he opted to just reboot it instead of making a continuation. And I think that it would have been a better choice for him to make the continuation without Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Murray probably would have changed his mind again and
Mm-hmm.
jumped back in on the project anyways. But at least he would have had enough core characters to pull it off, and everybody would have been like, okay, you know, cool.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that. Stallone has been actually rather successful with doing that, revisiting his original characters,
Yeah.
Rocky and Rambo, and making it work as a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to reboot it, but then he decides he wants to be all politically correct about it. I'll reboot it and it'll be all chicks. And that'll be really cool and progressive because it'll be all females. Well, that's not what people want.
Yeah, and
People
it tanked.
want a continuation of Ghostbusters, not a reboot. That's a mistake. Secondly, you made it agenda driven. Nobody wants to see that either. The movie was a huge bomb. It was a failure. And you know you're in trouble when you've got the guy who's writing it and directing it, or whatever his role was in it, Dan Aykroyd, in an interview, I kid you not, saying, I promise you it will be funny. Why are you so worried?
Because he knew that it
Because
was
he knew
going
it was going to fail. And
Yeah.
now they go back to script, and they're trying to pick up where they left off with the new Ghostbusters movie that's coming up. Hopefully they didn't blow it. But or RoboCop. The reboot of RoboCop actually wasn't a bad film. It
I
was
didn't
it
see
was
the
it was
reboot.
it was okay. You know,
Oh.
it wasn't as good as the original RoboCop, but it was a solid film. But it wasn't RoboCop. And that was really a lot of people's argument. You could have called it anything else. Android Officer. Call it anything but RoboCop, and I'll accept it. But don't call this RoboCop because it isn't. Okay? You hijacked the title from a classic 80s genre film, and this is what you did with it. You know what I mean? So So yeah, it's in the films. The older films are a lot better, especially this core. I think the golden age really between the 70s and 80s. A lot of really good films, well written films, and well acted films came out of the 70s and 80s.
Even cheesy films weren't that bad because we watch.
The Last-
I watch a lot of
The
cheesy
Last
films.
Dragon.
Oh, The Last Dragon is a must.
That
see.
movie's priceless.
That is a
I
must.
can watch that right now.
I can watch that once a month.
Last Dragon's a great, and it's a cheesy as hell film,
Oh God,
but
is
it
it?
is fun.
It is. It's a must see. I suggest to you, if you have never seen The Last Dragon, and I think it's on Amazon. I think so. Oh, pull it up and watch it. It is hilarious. It's a good. It's a classic film, 80s film.
Yeah.
Totally dated movie. but it's a good movie.
Oh, what was one we saw the other day? Slugs.
Slugs, yeah,
Slugs. That
slugs.
movie, the one with all the slugs.
Oh, the slugs was
Yeah.
everywhere, all on the
That movie
people.
was stupid. It was stupid, but it was so funny. It was so fun to watch. And I'll tell you what, the whoever the special effects guy was in there, he must have gotten the lion's share of the budget because he made some real creepy props. Remember, there was
Yeah,
no CGI in those days.
yeah, he had
You had to
slugs
you had to
everywhere.
be convincing. But that was fun to watch. It was goofy as hell.
Yeah, some of those 70s and 80s, like they call them horror, but they're not horror films.
Oh yeah.
They're great. But I mean, these writers now, it's a lot of books out there. If they just get a book and say, okay, I need a new idea.
Sure.
Let's pick up a couple
There's
of
so
books.
many novels.
Yeah, that'll translate well into a movie. You know, you spice it up a little bit. You know, modernize it some. But
And they're so CGI heavy now.
yeah.
And I think it takes something away. Even no matter how convincing the CGI is, you can feel it. You can feel that there's no depth somehow, and that it is CGI.
Oh, I didn't. But I know it turned me off once I saw they had the CGI for all of like the Avengers movies and that other Marvel one when
Uh-huh.
they in space, and they showed and everything was a green screen. I was like,
Yeah, they were nowhere.
yeah, and then they
They were in a
showed
building.
one where they were supposed to be in London, and that was even green screen. It
Yeah.
wasn't nowhere. It was in a warehouse somewhere.
And there was nobody, and even the people weren't people. Like if you ever seen the scene with from Guardians of the Galaxy, and they've got Drax, and he reaches over and he pets Rocket. He puts his hand on Rocket's head, and he's like, "Okay, man," or whatever he was saying. And if you see that without the overlay, there's a guy in a green jumpsuit sitting like this, and Drax is petting his head. He's petting him on top of the head while he's sitting there, and it's like, wow, that just looks so screwed up.
Yeah, but then when you see all that and you think about the movie, you're like, that to me that takes away. So I don't
It
like
does. It
seeing
kills the
that
magic.
kind of thing.
Especially, I'm not saying it's so easy to do CGI, but it is a lot more simple than the old way of doing props
Yeah.
and things like that. It's a lot more simple than the old way. Even the squibs. I've heard that argument about squibs, which is when you shoot somebody. You remember in the old movie they had to give you little blast
Yeah, that
packs,
little
and it
pack.
would pop, bam, bam, it would pop. But the digital squibs, they just don't add up. They don't look right. I don't know if they've ever really mastered that, and you can tell the difference between a manual and a digital squib, and things like that. I think you appreciate it better when you know somebody actually made that happen with their hands. They actually got on there and did the work. They built a model. They did stop motion, whatever they had to do with their hands. It's an art form that's been lost.
Yeah.
And even though the CGI, like I said, I'm not saying it's all that easy, but there's a reason why in the 90s, I think it was 95, it's one of the most historic moments in film history when Disney fired their art department and laid off over 5,000 animators so that they could hire like 20 guys to do this, basically, because it was cheaper and easier than the animators. But the animators, that was real art.
Yeah, because
You
if you
know?
go back and look at some of those Disney movies and the depth that they did and all of the grass, the hair moving in the drawings
And that someone had
everything.
to sit there and do this for months
Yeah.
to get that to work. Or if you ever saw, I want to say it was Snow White. I think some of the scenes had 26 or 28 layers of
Yeah.
overlay to
Yeah.
give it the right depth.
Yeah.
It's like, that is incredible work, and
But-
to coordinate that is amazing.
But I think with people, because of technology, and you have so much technology, you lose your sense of imagination. Because when you have nothing, everything come from out of the brain. You have to imagine this, imagine that.
Figure out how to make it work.
Everything is in your head, and now you got to get it from your head to reality. But because you got so much technology, and you can find this picture on, Google this word and find a picture and put it there and
Splice
do this
it here and do this and
yeah.
that. Yeah.
You don't have to imagine anymore because everything is at your fingertips, and then that translates to the books that you read. Cause I don't read modern books except for if it's Stephen King. I'll read his book. But even he getting bad. It translates to books, to TV shows, to music. Don't even start there. To music, to movies. Even commercials are horrible. Has no imagination. Advertisers have no imagination. It's like, oh, we don't really care if you buy the product or not. We just want to throw this out there. And it's like, I don't want to buy that. You didn't present that well.
It makes me think of that. You might know the name of the channel. The guy has a YouTube channel. He's the music critic.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
The doctor, the professor of rock, the guy with the hat and the glasses.
Yeah, is that him?
Yeah, Professor of rock.
He had made a statement about that where he said that he wanted to tackle that he had seen some other video about the worst 15 80s songs ever written, and he wanted to challenge that because he was like, and he's really passionate about music. This guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
But and he does a lot of really professional interviews with musicians. But he was like, those songs, they're really not that bad. He was like, the worst 15. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here because I don't remember the exact quote. The worst 15 songs ever written are being written right now, over and over and over again.
That's true.
And I'm like, it is true.
Because you listen to music, and I was telling David this, and because it was a Post Malone. He had a. I would never forget this because this really made me mad. He had the Doritos commercial.
Yeah.
And his song is playing in the back, and I'm like, what is he saying? Because I couldn't understand the words.
Yeah.
So I pulled it up on YouTube with the lyrics.
And you still don't know what he's saying.
And I'm reading the lyrics and the words. Okay, because words have a meaning. And the words he was using was everyday common words that even a kid would understand if you just said the word. But the way he put it together with the other words.
With auto-tune.
Made the words make no sense. So you sit there like, those words don't make sense together. You know what I mean? I can't remember what the words were.
Secret code.
And maybe it was.
Some kind of slang we're not familiar
and
with.
And this
perhaps.
is why I don't listen to modern music.
It's
because I don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're supposed to be talking about TV shows and movies.
Poetry is dead, but it ties in.
Yeah, it ties
in. It really does.
But, I don't know, but I can't listen to
And the further you get away from it, the less modern and future generations will realize that there is a better alternative, or was, that they could be watching an older show that's really good, as opposed to what's out there now. This is why the Twilight Zone always fails. Whenever they try to reboot the Twilight Zone, they ruin it.
Yeah, I mean compared to that garbage that came out a year or two ago, the 90s Twilight Zone wasn't bad. If you just saw the 90s and compared it to the 50s or the 60s Twilight Zone, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's not all that great. That's not great.
50s and 60s.
Yeah. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But then you put it next to
the one that came
out.
out.
The one that came out a couple of years ago, and you were like, oh no, the one from the 90s is great.
When they have to sit there and brag to you, it'll be better because there's going to be a lot of foul language in it. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Why do you think you need that?
Because Rod Serling didn't have one foul language in it, and it still stands up to the test.
And it's not even about the fact that wouldn't have been permitted by the networks in those days. They wouldn't let you use foul language on the air. But the sophistication of the writing
Yeah.
and the type of dialogue. If you sit there and actually listen to what these people are saying, and they used such good actors. Again, the actors were better, and their presentation and how they felt that part, it just really stands out.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well written, really well done, and the way that what's really interesting too about Rod Serling is you see him when he does the opening and closing dialogue, and you listen to him talk. If you've ever seen him in interviews or in on the spot bits
Mm-hmm.
on film, that's how he talked all the time.
Yeah, because I saw an interview with him, and I'm like, that dude talked like that for real.
Yeah, that's how he actually talked. He had a
And
very sophisticated form of dialect, and it reflected in his writing.
yeah, because
And
he'll write
yeah,
up some stuff, and you're like, God, leave Rod.
and that's it. That type of sophisticated dialect is encouraging, because you hear that and you get the meaning from it,
Mm-hmm.
but then you listen to a lot of modern stuff and all the slang and all the foul language, and you don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time,
Mm-mm.
or
Mm-mm.
don't want to know.
No, because then you'll be like, oh my God, that's what you're trying to say? And that's what...
You can get your point across without cussing every other word.
Yeah, you could get, but then they dumb it down so much. It's not even Barney style. It's like you talking to people like they're stupid, and if you receive that, then you're saying, okay, keep on talking to me like I'm an idiot
Yeah,
because this is what I accept, and this is what I'll watch and I'll take in. But
that's
if you
how I
say,
felt about Twilight when
oh God,
because
I told you that I was on the plane and a girl was sitting beside me reading Twilight, and the words were so big. Because in kids' books, the words are big. But then as you get older, the words become smaller and
yeah,
smaller.
because they got to fit it.
Right. And then, I just sat there because I'm just sitting there and like, whatever, you're bored to death. And I looked at the girl book and I'm like, what kind of book is that? Why are the words so big? And I read like a line or two, and I'm like, what in the world? That's, it looked like fifth and sixth grade writing.
Yeah,
I'm like, what kind of, and then she closed out. I was like, Twilight? Is that what that is?
and I've heard when I was running the facility and we had the movies going when I worked for the JJA.
Yeah.
They had their movie day, and Twilight is playing, and I'm sitting in the office and I'm listening, and I'm like, what the hell trash are they listening to? Because it sounded so dumb. The dialogue sounded so freaking dumb, and I went out there and looked at it. I'm like, what is this? Oh, Twilight. Oh my God, that's Twilight? That's what everybody's raving about? It's a movie that was supported by its CGI. Again, flash and bang and interesting things to look at, but there's no real substance in it.
I never saw Twilight, but I remember when it
I
used
saw
to
enough
come
of it
out.
in that 20 minutes.
I remember when it used to come out, and I had a friend,
Uh-huh.
and she was older than me by, I don't know, about maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. And her and two other friends of ours would go to the movie theater the night it came out, because it would come out at midnight. Oh, we're gonna go watch Twilight. We're gonna do that. I'm like, no, because I'm like, I don't even know what Twilight is. I don't, I'm
Sure.
not getting up at midnight to go watch no movie. Um, and then, like I said, I saw that girl reading that book, and I'm like, that's what they go see, Twilight. I'm like, okay, well, to each his own.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see no movie
But
like
yeah, a
that.
lot of films and a lot of shows now hide behind the CGI to make it look impressive, to distract you. And a lot of people, they don't get that. A lot of people don't see that. If there's non-stop action, that it can keep you focused. This is something that was, I think, really well represented in Terminator 2. It doesn't stop. It just goes and goes and goes. Although it's a combination of CGI and live action effects, primarily the CGI was the T-1000, who kept shape-shifting,
Yeah.
and which fit what they were doing. But the rest of the film wasn't. The rest of the film was real special effects. At the end of the film, they really blew up an office building. That actually happened. That's so you can forget, and you can lose respect for the film. Like you were saying, when you see without the green screen, and you realize there's nobody there. They're not even wearing anything. The armor that somebody had on isn't there. Nothing is freaking there. It's you can lose a lot of respect for it, and then you go back and you see something like Star Wars, the original Star Wars, and one of the arguments for that film at that time that I heard from people in an interview about the special effects, what Lucas came in and asked us to do hadn't been done. We had to invent it and figure it out. That's impressive.
Yeah, because going back to what you were saying about the Marvel film, like the guy played in the
And the Marvel
Incredible
films
Hulk.
were still fun.
Yeah,
We enjoyed watching them.
but the guy played
Yeah.
the Incredible Hulk. When they did it on TV, they had two people. They had the guy that played David Banner, and they
Yeah.
had Lou Ferrigno. But in the Marvel
Bill
movie,
Bixby.
yeah, Bill Bixby. Yeah, I said David Banner. That's his real name.
That's the name of the character.
Yeah, David Banner. But in the Marvel film, they put a thing. It's the same guy with an outfit on, or the not even an outfit.
Yeah.
So
and he stands there with a pole on the back of his head with a picture of the Hulk's face on it, so that the other actor knows where to look to while he's talking. That's how they do that. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I don't know.
But
I'm all right if you have a movie and it's CGI, if it has good acting, it has substance, it has a plot, it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
But if it's just,
like
just
the first Iron Man.
you keep on going on about Iron Man.
Or Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange
Doctor
was
Strange
good.
was good. That was all CGI.
I like Doctor Strange. I do like the one when they're in space. That one.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was fun.
The Captain America was fine. Those movies, they action movies. They ain't nothing for you to sit down and think about. I'm talking about like good movies. If it got some CGI in it, that's fine. But, I just want to see something. Okay, you thought of something. That's a fairly new concept, or it's not rehashed every year.
Yeah.
We got some good dialogue. We got some good acting. You put some thought in it. You made me think about what's going on or something. That's all I want to see.
Or like Fast and Furious. How many times can you steal a car and go street racing? I mean,
but that's not what that movie was about, right?
Well, it's in there.
Yeah, it's
There's
in
a
there.
lot of
And they
street
did do
racing
it,
and stealing cars.
10 times, because they got 10 of those movies.
Except for number 3, because that was Tokyo Drift. And Vin Diesel had a cameo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of the same thing over and over and over again. For a lot of these films and a lot of these TV shows, and they copy in old shows and they're rewriting them. But when they're rewriting them, they're dumbing them down.
Yeah, they're taking away, and it's okay if you wanna, I guess, rehash an old show, but don't start from the beginning. Try to pick up where that show left off and continue on, kind of in the same vein. Don't just say, okay, we're going to redo Knight Rider. And,
Again.
Yeah, but now we're going to use, you know which one? The Equalizer.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to redo the Equalizer.
Again.
But which was a man to start with.
Yeah, it was.
Now it's Queen Latifah.
Yeah, it was an older British guy on the show. And he didn't do the heavy work. He was more like a detective, and he had people that he would bring in. Then it was Denzel Washington in the film, which was fine.
Yeah.
He pulled it off, I think, as it was a different concept he wasn't being hired to do anything in the film.
Yeah, he just kind of did
He just
stuff.
kind of inserted himself where the other guy was more of a mercenary. Now it's Queen Latifah,
Yeah, and it's a
and I'm like,
weekly program.
she does not look the part at all. You know,
No,
it doesn't feel right.
no. But I mean like a show where you have an established cast. I didn't realize Equalizer. But I'm talking about a weekly program where you have an established like again, Knight Rider has an established cast.
Or an established genre.
Genre
Yeah.
or an established person.
You know
But
what it should be.
yeah, and
Yeah.
now you're going to take it and say, okay, we're going to redo Knight Rider, and this time it's going to be a woman, or it's going to be,
A 14-year-old.
yeah,
Something.
like MacGyver. MacGyver is an older guy that was in the military, and now he's out.
Yeah, he had a lot
Now
of
you make
skills.
him a teenager. It's like, it's if you're going to do the teenager bit, say, okay, well, this is MacGyver's son, and he going to pick it up.
The other
Yeah.
actors around, I think, they could have used him.
Yeah, but I don't know. But that's what we were thinking about today. Any
Yeah.
other points you want to make about?
Oh my God. We could probably go on and on all day on that subject, and I'm sure that the people watching have gathered by now, we are not really fans of the direction that television and film have, or even music has gone in.
Yeah, God, don't even
In
start on
recent
music.
decades, that it's lost its luster, the majority of it, and it's getting worse and worse. It makes me think of the film Idiocracy.
Oh, I hate
When-
that movie.
Well, she didn't like it because of the language, but there's he goes to the movie theater, and there's a 6-hour long film called Ass. And he says, I think that's how they put it, a 6-hour long film called Ass, and that's all it was, an ass. And and on the screen it's a picture of someone's butt, and he's scratching, and people are in the audience laughing, and he's sitting there like, what the hell is this? And it won an Oscar that year.
I did get the purpose behind Idiocracy,
Yes.
and I can see how it ties in and it's relevant for the day. But I just couldn't get past all that. It was just too many
Yeah, she didn't like the
unnecessariness
language and
for
stuff.
me. But yeah, I totally get the movie from the little bit I saw.
Yeah.
And listening to David go on and on almost every day, he got to add
All
it into a conversation.
Now,
But no, I do.
why do you do that?
I don't know. I do get the concept of it,
Yeah.
but it was just one I couldn't stomach. But like that would have been fine because it was a different concept, and I can see where they were going with it.
Yeah.
But to rehash again, constantly rehashing, constantly rebooting, and then when you reboot, you say you're rebooting, but then you're making it almost something totally different. Like The Thing, when they redid that, and they could have
they ruined
easily.
that.
They could have easily picked up where they left off in The Thing.
Yeah, because it was open-ended at the end of the film.
Yeah, they could have had another group of scientists come and find them.
The second thing, the 80s version.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
Yeah, it was. That's a great, very well done film with some really, really interesting hand-done special effects. No CGI in that.
No. But again,
Yeah. Again, like we were saying, you see where we are with it. We're not too happy with it. I don't think it's just because we're older. We're old enough to have watched the changes and see the things that have taken place, things that have been taken away, and the things that have been added. We don't like and we're not comfortable with. But not everybody has that opinion.
no.
And that's fine. What do you think? What do you think about that? You can put your thoughts in the comment section down below. Get the conversation going.
Yeah, chime in.
Let us know what you think. Let others know what you think about, do you agree? Do you disagree? And why? Don't just say I disagree because you're a jerk. I already know I'm a jerk. And that's not a reason. But yeah, if you have a reason where you think we're wrong or you think we're right or whatever it is, feel free to post it in the comment section down below. And let us know what you think.
Bye.
And I guess she's done. Okay. Well, that was long enough. So we'll see you later. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.